analyst desk. Take it away.
Thank you very much, gentlemen. Whew. CLG playing with fire there, scraping by with a victory in Game 3 to push it to 2-1 and make it match point. But for a very long time during that game, it did not look good for them, Jack.
I am convinced that CLG is fueled by doubt. That is the only thing that makes them succeed, because they win the first game, singing their praises, they get absolutely massacred, and then their early game here was atrocious. And I was pretty much giving up. Spawn and I, who predicted CLG to win the series, we're sweating bullets over here.
Yeah.
But they pull together, they get some big mid-game team fights, then the Sona sustain can kick in, it nullifies the poke from NL, and they take a strong victory.
Okay, let's talk about that. You mentioned the Sona list. We had two new picks here. We had the Sona for CLG and the Varus come through for Flash Wolves. What are our thoughts on these picks?
Well, Varus is obviously an old-time champion from NL. When he wants to win the lane, he goes with that pick. And that Flash Wolves strategy, going back to playoffs, was we win 2 lanes, and then we win the game. But this time, I really have to credit Aphromoo a lot. I think a lot of his engages caught NL off guard. Like at the mid turret right there, getting caught and shaving that 6K gold lead down to 3, down to 2.
And we talk how the teams need engage out of their supports. I mean, Sona's an unorthodox way to provide that to a team, I guess. I kind of didn't do well in the laning phase. Got actually bullied a fair amount at level 1 as well. But when it came out in the end, it was good.
Yeah, well, Stixxay actually burned Flash at level 1, right? Like, I think it's so easy to punish your Sona lane if you can burn summoners early and also give jungle support. And because Karsa had such successful ganks early, it looked like a game Flash was going to be able to try lane and just snowball out, because that 5,000 gold looked like too much.
Yeah, Spawn, talk to me about Karsa on this Kindred. I mean, we had an early first blood gank to the top lane. We had 2 kills in the bottom lane.
So he's just so smart. He starts top side of the jungle, and he knows that the one lane that will push up is the Ekko, because that's how you actually beat the Poppy lane. And he just understands the limits of this champion. I mean, going through, he'd already marked him up. He visits bottom after that because he understands that's the next pushing lane. And once again,
Ezreal's
this lane
flash
was already
still down.
Bullied because of the Ezreal flash. So I just think that this is really greedy from Stixxay to step forward. But once again, Karsa is just a master when he has that early lead.
Yeah, and I also have to note that HuHi tried to teleport in to stop that Karsa gank, but then he canceled it when he realized Karsa had gone through the turret. And very rarely does one gank win 2 lanes. But that happened there. And then in his second gank, he won all 3 lanes. Like, that level of early game dominance almost never happens that quickly. And the fact that they didn't win the game after that is a little scary.
Yeah, but it does make you start to wonder if CLG is going to think about that Kindred moving in to the pick and ban phase, rather, for Game 4. And we'll get to that. We'll talk about that a little bit. But, of course, as you mentioned, Jat, they did manage to lose this game somehow. So I want to get into what CLG did in order to kind of extend this game. We talked about the Sona being big about it. Kobe already hit it a little bit. Vision to set up the plays first so that they could have some of those engages and make sure that Kindred ults weren't coming out when they needed to.
Well, the first thing they did is they actually established a dominant lane through HuHi in the mid game, where the Ryze actually was able to go with the Poppy, and MMD was incredibly fed. I think he was 4-0 and 2-0 at that point in time, but they were just able to establish that. And then they were just so worried about taking out this Ryze that they overreach in team fights, and this was a bad ult from Karsa, but great capitalization from CLG.
Yeah, and I do think once they're in the midst of a team fight, CLG had the upper hand. Like, even when they were 5,000 gold down, all the little chips they got coming up to this were because they were getting pretty clean initiations. Then they were able to sustain through and continue the fight with Sona and kept building on their advantages that way. And in Flash Wolves, I think when they last picked the Varus, they were thinking, initiation. But it kind of is also a poke champion, and at the end of the day, their composition wasn't able to make sense at even gold.
Right, so eventually we saw Ezreal outscaling the Varus a little bit, and on the back end of that replay, the Dragon and the Baron picked up for CLG. From there, much smoother sailing for this team. It seemed like they were operating more in their comfort zone once they had eventually reestablished at least an even gold situation.
Yeah, I think Flash Wolves just need to learn how to think about the 5v5 team fight. This is not something they do a lot, and it's come back to bite them in games against AHQ, against CLG here as well. What they should have done was they should have established more like vision control in the enemy jungle and start sieging turrets. If they started sieging, I think CLG had to go for a Hail Mary, Flash Sona, or something like that. They didn't have a lot of tools to actually like pull off a siege, but they didn't elect to do that. They kept on baiting Baron, baiting Dragons, just waiting the timers out, and I don't think they were too smart with their map play. way this
And
time.
I'm going to go back to one thing that we hit on a lot in the group stage. Double teleport and the ability to just turn on a dime with something like a Ryze actually means that that game plan that you're talking about, it can be workable. But we've proven time and time again that it is much harder in these high pressure situations. So that's why right now Ryze is picking up the wins, I think, because you do need setup time with the Azir to be able to get into those situations that we're talking about. And CLG, Aphromoo, HuHi, they're just willing to throw themselves at the enemy with almost reckless abandon to not give you that time to set up.
Well, my favorite play in that game was Xmithie baiting in towards the top side brush in mid lane where Aphromoo was waiting in the wings with a flash in on Karsa. No Kindred ult comes out. That was a huge play. Irregardless, North America's Counterlogic Gaming are one win away from locking in their place in the finals. Meet us back here in just a few minutes to see if they can get it done or if Flash Wolves will take us to Game 5.
We're going to be getting right into game here for Game 3, Day 2 of the semifinals here at the Midseason Invitational. Focusing on the heals, focusing on keeping Aphromoo alive. Wolf bites down. Karsa gets another kill for the Flash Wolves. That's going to be another one. Darshan's in with a parallel convergence onto Karsa.
Oh, so
Sam's
close.
respite goes down. Who's the first kill and who gets out alive?
Goes here.
Yeah, Kindred, I might flash ulti, You ready? Okay.
I'm ready.
I got Bears.
I'm on Kindred.
Get it. Let me go. Good shit.
Oh, where's the respite? It's not happening this time. That's the nail in the coffin for Counterlogic Gaming. MMD right through the upright.
Poised for CLG when facing the deficit and calmly executing the team fights over and over again.